Hey everybody, welcome back to another 10-minute Marvel video. I'm Petter, and today, I'm filming this basically right after I filmed my video on the rumor that a Sony would consider selling Spider-Man. And in that video, I went through a lot of reasons why they might be at least taking the first steps to figure out what's Spider-Man worth to them, and does it make more sense to get that money now versus try and string it out and get some money for the next unknown number of years from the property? Or will they just keep on losing money like they're going to with Kraven, like they did with Madam Web, and even Venom 3? That made them money, but not as much as they were hoping. So, this video is based off of the assumption that it does happen. Honestly, I don't think it is that likely to happen. But this video is based on that assumption that it does happen, because I think it is worth asking a question of how do you make that work in the MCU? Because, the simple thing is, you just bring in Spider-Man. Now Spider-Man can be in whatever you want him to be in. That's great. But Marvel has what I see as a situation on their hands if this happens. They just are bringing the X-Men into the fold. There's rumored to be, we get Adamantium reference in the Brave New World teaser, and then we get some X-Men showing up in Deadpool and Wolverine. We've had mutants mentioned. We don't have the full-blown X-Men yet, and that could be its own 20 years of story. 20 years of content. Just X-Men, not even including Avengers and Spider-Man in there. Then you have the Avengers. The Avengers, sure, Spider-Man has been on the Avengers, but the Avengers are more than that. You have characters like Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye. So many more. Just so many more characters that you can make Avengers teams from. And that could be another 20 years of story easily just with those characters, even without X-Men mixed in. And of course, new stories always coming out. And then you have Spider-Man. And Spider-Man be like, well, it's only one hero. Not really. Because you have the whole Spider-Verse. You have different heroes, characters like Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen. And all of those characters could hold their own stories. And then, that's not even getting into more obscure characters like Spider-Man Noir. Or just other spider-related characters like Silk, Spider-Woman. All of these different spider hero characters. And I bring them up because there are just Spider-Man storylines, big Spider-Man events that occur in the comics. Symbiotes, Null, Venom, all of those things too fall into that Spider-Man camp, plus the whole rogues gallery of villains. We haven't had a Sinister Six movie yet. You could just jump straight into a Sinister Six movie, set them all up as villains, and then have multiple different spider characters dealing with those. And that's, again, 20 years. So, does that mean we're going to be going until 60 years from now? No. I think that Marvel has to look at handling this in a different way if it happens. And I think they even have to start to do that with the X-Men as well, because the X-Men have certain storylines that are their own. Spider-Man has certain storylines that is his own. The Avengers have certain storylines that are Avengers storylines. These are all separate things. And I think it is possible to run all of them concurrently. And I think Marvel has to do a smart job with that. And I think you can have, like, okay, 2 mutant movies leads up to an X-Men team up. And so that happens one year. Then the next year you have like a big Spider-Man event where you've had a Spider-Man movie, now we have the event movie, and maybe a TV show around one of the smaller known Spider-Man characters, like a Silk, something like that. Or maybe you do a Sinister Six show. And then with the Avengers, they kind of take the back seat for a little bit, okay? So we're now 3 years out, approximately. 4th year out, we get another Avengers film. And we've had some Avengers shows. We have the Champions show. We have maybe another Captain America movie in there. Or another Thor movie, something like that. And you just have each of these kind of be their own lane. This, for me, I think is a good idea for a couple different reasons. First, you can always, I think you do always bring them together at like 6 to 8 years. Kind of that time frame. You have a big event, which is a full-on crossover, universe-ending event, but otherwise they're always dealing with their own pockets. And the reason I think that's part of why I think it's good is because that means that now you have this really guaranteed to get butts in seats moment, because you're not having these constant crossovers, cameos, stuff like that it's often felt like we're getting in these past couple of phases, and that those cameos have now become more important. The other reason is it allows fans to focus. If, for example, they were to do the One More Day Spider-Man storyline, and they did that over a show and 2 films, some fans are not going to be interested in that if they know the storyline. So they'll skip watching that. It reduces your superhero fatigue by creating these barriers of division that get broken down for special events. If I'm just really excited for the X-Men, I can follow that line. I can watch all the X-Men stuff. And I'm probably getting like 2 things a year, X-Men wise. Okay, I'm really interested in the Avengers stuff. Okay, well, I get 2 kind of more Avengers hero type stuff. Spider-Man, same deal. Like, you get about 6 different things a year, 2 in each. And it might vary a little bit from year to year. But to me, I think that makes a ton of sense. I would say it's a good idea because it helps with that superhero fatigue. And especially, I mean, I don't feel the superhero fatigue. I love that Marvel's putting out a ton of stuff. But for people who feel like, oh, I'm watching, I mean, I'm going to give an old example here, but I'm watching Game of Thrones. Or now, I guess the modern example would be, well, I'm watching House of Dragons, and I'm watching this show and this show as well as they come out. I don't have time to keep up on all the Marvel shows that are coming out. Well, now they can pick and choose. It makes it easier. For me, Marvel stuff always has the top priority. I run a YouTube channel called 10 Minute Marvel. I run a podcast called 10 Minute Marvel. Of course, it's going to be important for me. But by allowing it to split and kind of be separate storylines most of the time, and leading up to events for specific groups, it would make it easier and less of a time commitment for people to follow just the ones that they want. And then in the year 2 leading up to that big crossover team up event, you drop the hints in the movie and you make it fairly clear to the audience. These aren't necessarily subtle hints. This is going to be happening. Be ready for this crossover event. And I think people will get behind it. I think people would like that idea because it makes it simple for them to know which things to check out. So that's my thought anyways. If Marvel were to get back Spider-Man, I'd love to see them kind of create those 3 different lines, almost, of story, all within one shared universe still. You can still have that crossover when you want it, when you need it, but to let each of them kind of be their own separate story. Much like, I'm going to say exactly like you do in the comics. So let me know your thoughts on that down in the comment section below. And if you enjoy this content, if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. And of course, we'll be talking about this on the 10-Minute Marvel podcast coming out next Sunday. So if you want the full conversation between Greg and myself, you can have that there. But with that, we'll see. Nope. Almost got ahead of myself. You can check out the podcast. I didn't tell you how to find the podcast. First off, you can find it here on YouTube. Click on the channel. Click the subscribe button. We do appreciate everybody who has subscribed recently and everybody who is checking out the videos, as we've definitely had an uptick in that, and it's just super appreciated. And then click on the podcast tab, or you can search for 10-Minute Marvel wherever you get your friendly neighborhood podcasts from. But with that, we'll see you next time.